In the 1800s, the American economic machine attempted a brutal trick. It sought to reduce living human beings to raw materials and ledger entries. For enslaved Black women, this commodification invaded the most intimate parts of life. They were labeled fancy girls or bedwarmers. As scholar E. Franklin Fraser documented, their bodies were treated as physical currency, subject to violence, coercion, and used entirely without consent. This absolute vacuum of autonomy, a demographic intentionally starved of capital and physical safety, produced several of the most extraordinary architects of the modern world. These women engineered specific shifts in society by reclaiming 4 domains of human power previously denied to them: the mind, the economy, the sanctuary, and the body. History records the systems built by those who refused to be defined as property. Domain 1, the mind. At 7 years old, a young girl was kidnapped from West Africa, stripped of her actual name, and forced into domestic servitude in Boston as Phyllis Wheatley. Within 16 months of arriving, she executed a radical reversal. She weaponized the language of her captors. She taught herself to read and master complex neoclassical poetry, verses that mirrored the intricate structures of the literature seen here. Her command of language was so complete that the intellectual circles of Boston refused to believe a Black slave could possess such an intellect. In 1773, 18 prominent men, including the governor and John Hancock, interrogated her and were forced to legally attest to her authorship. By traveling to London to publish her book, she placed her intellectual output into the public record while she was still legally a piece of property. Domain 2, the economy. Mary Ellen Pleasant was born into the antebellum South, but in 1852 she arrived in San Francisco during the gold rush, a period when the harbor was crowded with the fortunes of the world. Mary understood that power moves through information. She took a job posing as a simple domestic cook and housekeeper. By hiding behind the prejudice of wealthy white society, she turned her invisibility into an intelligence-gathering network. Every overheard financial secret was immediately converted into capital. As this model shows, she routed that inside knowledge into real estate, laundries, and high-interest loans, quietly amassing a fortune worth roughly $30 million today. She then aimed that wealth at the institution of slavery. She provided $30,000 to bankroll John Brown's armed raid on Harper's Ferry, and later launched the lawsuits that began the desegregation of California streetcars. Pleasant hijacked a system designed to extract her labor and used it to manufacture the economic capital required for her people's physical liberation. Domain 3, the sanctuary. In the 1960s, Mary Van Britton Brown was a nurse living here in Queens, New York. Working odd nursing hours in a high-crime neighborhood with a slow police response forced her into a position of constant physical vulnerability. So Mary stopped waiting for external protection. She engineered her own solution. She designed a system with a motorized camera that slid between 4 peepholes in her front door, a 2-way microphone for screening visitors, and a panic button to instantly trigger an alarm. Granted in 1969, her patent is the direct technological ancestor of the modern closed-circuit security systems we use today. She reclaimed the safety of her sanctuary by deciding, "I will watch you before you watch me." The final domain is the body. In 1864, Rebecca Lee Crumpler defied every societal custom and law to become the first African-American woman in the United States to earn a medical degree. She chose to use hands that society previously insisted on binding to heal marginalized bodies. She treated thousands of newly freed people in post-Civil War Virginia and authored medical texts, like this one, to help mothers care for their children. But the legacy of non-consensual use of Black female bodies echoed into the 1950s, when Henrietta Lacks entered Johns Hopkins Hospital seeking treatment for cervical cancer. This microscopic view shows a horrific violation. A doctor removed Henrietta's tumor samples without her knowledge. Her cells created HeLa, the first immortal human cell line. These stolen cells directly enabled the polio vaccine, chemotherapy, and gene mapping. Meanwhile, her family remained uncompensated for decades. Crumpler healed on her own terms. Lacks was forced to contribute through medical extraction. Henrietta's story reminds us of the historical cost of treating a woman's body as a resource. Literature, wealth, safety, and science are the distinct pillars of the modern world. These 5 women functioned as foundational, load-bearing architects of American society. Behind the inventions and cures that define our lives is a lineage of women who stood up to history and said, "Watch me."